Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. This story begins as a black-clad hero wannabe tightens the grip on his huge sword that he has plunged into a giant dragon's chest. This brutal man rips his blade free from his enemy, leaving a giant hole in the dragon, and its inside blood is now outside blood. The Grey Dragon, bound by chains, questions why humanity has betrayed him, even as his boiling blood pours onto the cave floor. Ancient and divine, the giant blue-eyed soon-to-be-dead dragon has been alive since the time of the gods, and in all those years he has done nothing that would drive humans to hate him so. The truth is, he had been their ally once, but that mattered little to the cold-blooded swordsman who desperately wanted to be the main character of this anime. Sensing that the end was near because his blood is pouring out of him like a fountain, the dragon broke free of its chains and turned its gaze up to the moon above. As his body began to crumble and shatter like all my hopes and dreams, he pleaded with the gods only for peace and eternal rest for his ancient soul. Yet it seemed fate had something else in store for our boy. From the darkness came a light, and the dragon opened his eyes and found himself staring up at a hideous couple. They welcomed him to the world because this was his new mother and father. Apparently, it's not normal for babies to open their eyes at such a young age because they wondered if he was gifted in some special way, or maybe he was a possessed demon baby. His grandmother was also ecstatic and already dreaming about how he was going to grow up to be a doctor. From that day on, his name would be Dolan, the perfect bland name to match his bland sense of fashion. Dolan, not to be mistaken for a Target employee with his red vest, watched the sun as it set over the humble village he called home. As his obviously desperate friend Ari came running up the hill to call him home for supper, Dolan smiled. His new life was a peaceful one after all, and he no longer had to worry about heroes putting holes in his chest. This tranquil village of Varen lies far to the north, near the very edges of the kingdom's border. There isn't much to do there besides farming, so this would be a nightmare for anyone that doesn't want to milk cows all day. However, this suits Dolan's desire for a peaceful life just fine. At just 16 years old, Dolan is already considered an adult in his village and lives on his own. Every day he wakes up early with the sunrise to tend the fields and work the land. And every day he eats a humble meal in his humble home, like the humble protagonist he is. One day while fishing with his older and somehow more forgettable brother, the two talk about Dolan's upcoming expedition to the nearby swamp. Dylan is concerned and questions why Dolan doesn't just leave this job to the guards. Dolan points out that the local garrison has enough on their plate protecting the village and someone needs to find out what's going on. Dolan explains that it's been nearly a month now since anyone has heard from the lizard people that live in the swamp. The lizards would occasionally visit the village to trade for crickets or whatever lizards like, but now no one knows why they have suddenly disappeared without a trace. Like any good older brother, Dylan is still worried, and he offers to join his little bro on this trip. Dolan says that he's been making massive gains in the gym, and reassures his brother, who has way too similar of a name, that everything will be fine. He's a big boy now, and he wants to do his part for his village. Dylan then has the most exciting part of his boring life as he catches a fish. On his way back home, the proud conqueror of a couple fish comes across his two friends Melita and Albert. They're amazed by the record-breaking amount of fish, but they wonder if he's fully prepared for his journey tomorrow. Dolan says he's been getting ready for a while now and thanks Melita. She is part of the town guard, and she helped to persuade the village chief and the other elders into letting Nolan take on this investigation of the swamp. The easily impressed Melita says that it's the least she could do, considering how much Dolan has helped out with training. They tell Dolan to not worry about anything while he's away, and to focus on his investigation. Back at his house, Dolan goes from king of the seas to king of the kitchen as he prepares dinner, gutting, scaling, and salting the absolute shit out of the fish before leaving them out to dry in the sun. It's a lot of work, but in Varen, it's not uncommon for someone to take care of everything like this on their own. The village is isolated like my social life, out in the middle of nowhere, and with so few soldiers around, everyone is expected to take care of themselves. The creepy Ari in all her ginger glory has been watching Dolan through a window. She's there to remind Dolan of his magic practice, but he wonders if she came all this way just for him. Moments later, after an incantation that's too cheesy for me to repeat, Dolan unleashes a bolt of pure magical energy from his hand and cleanly cuts through a training dummy. His grandmother / magical instructor expresses her satisfaction with his perfect control over offensive magic. However, the old bag of bones won't let him out of his training that easily. Next up, she has a great deal of medicinal magic for him to practice, something Dolan struggles with. Later, Dolan is met by an even older and more decrepit character. It's the village chief, who has someone he'd like Dolan to meet. It's a girl named Christina. Apparently, she's a noble who will be staying at the village for a few days, but with her white hair and red eyes, she's looking more like some real waifu material. Dolan fights the urge to start a harem, as the old guy tells him to be on his best behavior, and the two formally introduce themselves. As their hands touch, Dolan can't help but notice that this girl is more than meets the eye, and she possesses some incredible strength and skill. The look in Christina's eyes says she's likely noticed the same thing about Dolan. On his way home, Dolan thinks about how the weather changes rapidly, and he can't believe that humans with their frail and fleshy bodies live under such conditions. After an exhaustive day of preparation and training, Dolan finally makes it to his parents' house to sit down for dinner. His mother and father are glad to see the fish lover as he sets down the haul of fish and crops he had gathered. The family sits down for a delicious meal, lovingly made by his mother. It isn't long before Dolan's old man questions him about girls, wondering when he'll settle down like his brother Dylan. Dolan quickly shuts him down as he explains that he's too focused on his grind set. Between leveling up in dating simulators and his perfectly programmed AI girlfriend, he's content living the bachelor life without the need for real-life commitment. Dolan is only 16 after all, and he doesn't mind being single for a little while longer. Before his disappointed father can go get the milk, the conversation shifts to the swamp and Dolan's journey. His parents are naturally concerned about him ending up at the bottom of the swamp, but with a little reassurance, they both seem convinced that their son will be alright. Dolan's father lets him know that as a 16-year-old adult, it's his decision to make. However, he better come home safe, or he'd make his mother worry, and she might start drinking again. Dolan tells them not to fret, he'll be back, and he'll even have a great swamp story to tell. The day eventually arrives, and all the village nobodies have gathered at the gates to see Dolan off. Mr. Clean's evil twin named Captain Ballin and Melita of the Guard wish him a safe journey. However, the captain can't help but feel as if it's his duty to safely escort Dolan on his perilous journey. Melita cuts off Captain Clean before he has a chance to do anything rash. She reminds the captain that he's needed in the village to guard against bandits and to get the tough stains out of the guild floor. Just then, a potential prospect for Dolan's harem, named Letitia, gives Dolan her blessing. However, Dolan's grandmother mentions the need to be careful. Her fortune telling has hinted at something bad that's going to happen. The discount Wendy's girl, Ari, is there as well, and she offers him a packed lunch for the trip, a double baconator with fries. Dolan thanks her and is so kind he doesn't even show his disappointment that she forgot the drink with his order. Our hero then sets off on his first grand adventure as a man. The lands between are wild and untamed, but it isn't enough to dissuade Dolan, who reaches the swampy marshlands without issue. The sight he beholds there has him worried. The swamp looks almost sick and diseased, the same way you guys look after binge watching anime recap videos for 10 hours straight. It's as if the entire swamp is dying. Using his honed senses, Dolan is able to immediately discern that there's a great imbalance between the elements of earth and water. Thinking back to Grandma Magru's fortune telling, Dolan notes that the old fossil is rarely ever wrong about these things. He begins to suspect that the reason behind this imbalance was deliberate. Dolan's thoughts are cut short when he senses a strange presence drawing close. Considering the condition of the swamp, the only things capable of surviving there would have to be very powerful monsters like mutated frogs or Shrek. Dolan readies his sword and stands fast, prepared to defend himself. However, what comes slithering out of the brush takes Dolan by surprise. It turns out to be a Lamia, half snake, half woman, but all waifu material, a truly rare sight to behold. The Lamia mocks him for coming alone in such a stupid outfit, and she calls Dolan a foolish man. Dolan thinks about how Lamia aren't normally seen around these parts, but she's as beautiful as the rumors say. That is, if you're into people without legs. When Dolan admits he's in fact alone, she seems strangely relieved at the news and remembers that she's supposed to charm people. Thinking quickly, the Lamia recalls the sweet dance moves her mother taught her to do in situations like this, and without warning, she proceeds to pop, lock, and drop it in order to charm him. Dolan is unimpressed, and unless her intention was to make him think she was having a seizure, her embarrassing flailing about was ineffective. Looking far too pleased with her awkward dance routine, the snake woman declares that she isn't there to fight. Thankfully, this awkward situation comes to a merciful end because of the shocking arrival of a giant puke monster. The elemental monstrosity, looking like a blob of clay and vomit, attacks the Lamia. Dolan's reaction is instant, and his sword cleaves through the elemental's hand before it can harm her. Even though they just met, Dolan's already tired of her yapping. He tells her to pipe down and to hide her giant water hose of a tail. Dolan surmises that this monster is why the lizard folk have disappeared, connecting rumors of an earthquake some time ago to the current disruption of balance in the land. Unfortunately, there's no way to return the elemental back to normal now that it has been riled up into such a violent state. Dolan is determined to deal with this problem, but not alone. He turns to the Lamia and introduces himself. Taken aback, she gives him her name. It's Selena. Like all Lamia, Selena can wield magic, so Dolan asks her to join him in defeating the monster. Sadly, she can only wield earthen magic, which would be almost useless against a monster like the one they're facing. However, Selena does have an idea. Her people's unique racial ability might just be enough to slow it down. Selena is more than just a little reluctant to help this strange human she has only just met, but there is something about Dolan. Perhaps it's because he hasn't run away from her horrifying reptilian body. It's not that, it's actually because of the intensity of his resolve that she agrees to help him. This forward girl says till death do them part, but Dolan points out that that's something said at weddings. The two get into position to ambush the hulking elemental, and Dolan gives the signal to attack. Rushing out of hiding, they run headlong at the monster, who reacts by launching its super powerful and not lame at all rock attack. Each one is expertly deflected by Dolan's sword work, giving Selena enough time to cast her spell. Along with a bit of obligatory fan service, Selena summons a giant snake and unleashes its cursed form against the monster. The two titanic beings struggle against one another, with the snake wrapping itself around the elemental and binding it in place. As expected, adding another snake to the mix isn't helping much, and Selena fears that her snake won't last much longer. However, it's enough for Dolan to close the gap, surging forward with incredible speed. By the time the elemental has wrestled itself free and tries to attack Dolan, it's far too late. Imbuing his blade with draconic power, Dolan slices the monster in two. With an anguished cry, the elemental loses all cohesion, mud and dirt turning into a tidal wave that catches the poor snake girl off guard and nearly washes her away. Selena says that she's okay, but she swallowed a bunch of the monster's liquid. Dolan tells her to get out of her dirty clothes because he has some liquid of his own to give her. This liquid is some soup he made, and Selena remarks that she's a little surprised that Dolan doesn't seem to be afraid of her. Dolan, being an ancient and divine dragon, has seen a lot, and Selena isn't even the first Lamia he's ever met. She is definitely the most unique, however, as all the Lamia he's ever known were wary and aggressive, very unlike Selena. He asks her why she's there in the first place, and Selena quite bluntly states that she's in search of a husband. Now that she's 17, it's tradition in her all-female race to go on the prowl for a boy toy to call their own. Dolan is completely oblivious to her advancements. He says that he will let her borrow his copy of Romance Simulator 3000 Ultimate Waifu Edition. His ignorance might be for the best, considering Lamias are cursed and they are poisonous. They only choose strong males to be their husbands because the weak ones have a habit of dying from all that Lamia poison after they develop plot. All this talk of poisonous body fluids and baby making does nothing to fluster Dolan because he has a sweet AI honey waiting for him back home. Selena suspects that Dolan is talking down to her, but she's quickly sidetracked as she has a taste of Dolan's thick and filling stew. Its warmth and flavor lead the two to talk about their families, and the unlikely pair bond over their shared meal and touching conversation. The next day, the two bid each other farewell. They wish each other luck, and Dolan hopes that she will find someone that loves her the way his waifu chatbot loves him. As they say their goodbyes and shake hands, Dolan recalls that Lamia's enjoy life energy, something he can freely manipulate. Dolan pumps her full of his life energy, and Selena has a reaction that makes me think that this anime's PG rating needs to be raised. Dolan is worried that his dragon energy might have been a bit too much for her, but Selena thinks that she just got herself a taste of the good stuff and might be hooked. Later, two villagers come back from a night of partying when they notice a fair figure. They're surprised to discover that it's a beautiful woman, so they tell her that a Diddy party just ended and it's dangerous to travel alone. Selena, our snake-like heroine, cheerfully replies that she'll be fine. She's actually tougher than she looks. Unfortunately, Selena's a little too much snake for their liking, so they run for their lives. Selena tries to explain that she means no harm, but her attempts to earn the trust of humans is going to be a lot harder than she thought. Meanwhile, in the village, Dolan is training alongside the redhead in the art of potion making. Grandma Margaret explains that the potion making process is a complex and precarious one. It requires ingredients with rare and volatile magical properties that, when mishandled, as Dolan demonstrates when he accidentally ruins his own potion, can go awry with just the smallest mistake. Grandma Margaret scolds Dolan for his lack of delicacy, but Dolan says that with a few adjustments and the right recipe, he could become the next Heisenberg. Ari fears that Dolan's failure might have upset him, so she encourages Dolan not to be disheartened and to keep trying. After all, he's got a lot of other good qualities going for him, like his eye for medicinal herbs and his selfless nature when it comes to taking care of the village children. She even mutters under her breath just how cool he is. The welcome to Wendy's girl reaches Dolan with her kind words, and he promises not to give up. It will take a lot of study and practice, however, as while Dolan is but an amateur, Ari's practically already a master at making potions. She's so good that Grandma Margaret lets her out of class early. Though she's encouraged to go play, Ari mentions that she'll use the free time to help out her mom with chores. Dolan, the class doofus, lets out a small sigh as he reminisces about his old life. As an awesome dragon, he never had a need for potions and healing herbs. The old granny points out that his offensive magic is really strong, but he lacks the fundamental understanding of alchemy. Magaru continues with her lessons, letting Dolan know that there are no shortcuts on the path to knowledge, only hard work and the occasional detour. After the lessons, Dolan finds himself in a living nightmare as he sits at a table surrounded by gingers. This is Ari's family, and her father takes a moment to bless their food. These soulless redheads worship Muriel, the goddess of earth. Dolan disrespects the entire thing by opening his eye mid-prayer, and he thinks about how it's been a very long time since he last met the goddess. Running back through the village, Dolan is in a hurry because he doesn't want to be late for his training. Just then, the story takes a strange turn as Dolan stops everything when Miss Miu calls out to him. Miss Miu is a demi-human who's part cattle, and she reminds Dolan that milk makes bones stronger. Miss Miu says that her jugs are filled with milk, and even offers to let Dolan drink straight from the tap. Miss Miu must be exhausted all the time because she provides the good people of the village with fresh milk every day, and its taste is so exquisite, Dolan struggles to say no when she offers him some. Our boy Dolan tries to resist, he really does, but in the end there's just no saying no to Miss Miu and her special brew. Dolan thanks her for the meal and downs a whole mugful before running off, now just a little more late for practice. In his haste, he doesn't even notice Lady Christina, who watches him from afar. Nearby, Albert leads the local kids in their lessons with a spear. With a clap of his hands, Albert gives them a break once he notices Dolan. Instead of going to play, however, the little nerds just rush over to Big Brother Dolan, excited to show off their skills. Albert shoos the little brats away, and Dolan's attention is stolen by the nearby forest. He senses something familiar. It's the presence of a demon, but instead of warning everyone so they can ready themselves, Dolan just says it's nothing. Later that night, Dolan returns to the forest with a lantern in hand. He wonders to himself what this particular demon was doing here of all places. Pushing past the bushes, Dolan stumbles upon his demon in question. It's Selena, and she's giving herself a sponge bath right in the middle of the forest for some reason. In her dismay, Selena topples over and nearly falls to the ground, but our boy Dolan is there to catch her in his arms. At this point, Selena is red with embarrassment and tells Dolan not to look, but this only confuses him. The awkward dragon man doesn't understand why he should look away, and he just wonders if Selena's milk tastes as good as Mui's. Like the creep he is, Dolan explains that it's only natural to crave beautiful things, but Selena has had enough of his brazen attitude. With a slap heard across the forest, Selena smacks a little bit of consideration for a woman's feelings into the Dragon Lord. Eager to move on from the whole ordeal, the conversation steers towards what exactly Selena's doing there. Last they spoke, she was heading south to look for a partner. Selena explains that she has been having trouble fitting in with the humans. Dolan understands and is actually quite pleased to see her again. The truth is that he missed her, and now that she's returned, he's eager to help Selena any way he can. That's when our brilliant protagonist comes up with a stupid idea. He tells Selena to come live with him so he can walk in on her taking a bath more often. Understandably, Selena's at a loss for words, and she reminds Dolan that she is a monster. She is sure that everyone will be scared of her, but Dolan explains that a bunch of hideous monsters already live in the village. Also, she has a nice personality on her, so she would have no trouble being accepted by the villagers. Selena is captivated with the idea of actually being able to befriend humans, and when Dolan says he'd be delighted to have her living with him, she seems sold on the idea. At this point, even the clueless Dolan begins to see how flirtatious this is all becoming. Just then, Selena reveals that she was actually looking for Dolan. As suspected, after the last time they met, Dolan had given her some of his spiritual energy. It turns out that it was so nice, she's come to taste it twice. Selena talks about it like it's the greatest thing ever, and Dolan says he will pump her full of his life energy whenever she wants when they live together. The devious Dolan knows exactly what he's doing, as he gives Selena another taste of his sweet spiritual power. As Selena indulges like a goon, Dolan explains his plan to have her move in with him. Back in the village, there's something of a mystery brewing. We join Mr. Unclean and the guard standing over an offering of freshly caught game. While many would see this as a free feast, the captain sees only a problem. This is the third time in as many days someone or something has left these strange offerings. As Melita studies the tracks leading away from the scene, she notes how they look like something left behind by a giant snake. There have been strange sightings in the woods recently, and this only confirms it for the captain. The village must have a Lamia problem. This brings fear to everyone, as Lamia are typically powerful and dangerous monsters. The 100-year-old village chief is somehow still alive, and he has all the elders convene for an emergency meeting. In the room is Dolan's father, old lady Magaru, and even Christina. They discuss the issue, and while they all agree that the presence of such a powerful demon could only spell trouble for their village, they can't understand why it was leaving such delicious gifts day after day. Melita considers herself to be somewhat of a foodie, so she thinks about how good the fish they found had tasted. The Mr. Clean you would see in nightmares gives his lieutenant a side eye and reminds her to remain focused. To him, there's only one solution. He wants to assemble a strike force to seek out and deal with this threat before it's too late. The other elders tell him to calm down before the sweat on his shiny bald head blinds everyone in the room. Alami is no small matter. It's a powerful demon that could do serious harm to the few soldiers defending the village, so it can't just be fixed by using the captain's all-purpose cleaner. Nearby, Dolan can somehow hear them. He had no idea that there was such a deep divide between humans and monsters, but he is sure that Selena will win them over. The elders' deliberations quickly break down before Grandma Magaru steps in to bring order to the chaos. She scolds Captain Balding, acknowledging his care and diligence when it comes to protecting the village, but she points out how it has been blinding him to the obvious. This Lamia was clearly trying to make some kind of peaceful statement, and the old lady is sure she can prove it. She has planned for this, and she tells everyone that someone is on their way. On cue, Ari comes bursting into the room like the cursed demon child she is, carrying a fortune-telling charm. Everyone is quite surprised with the little girl's sudden arrival, but as Grandma Margaru studies the results of her fortune-telling, she comes to a definitive conclusion. There is certainly, without a doubt, unequivocally a real good chance that this snake woman is a good omen after all. She urges patience and compassion, and for the time being, it seems the elders agree. Dolan continues to listen to all this with his main character powers while pretending to work. He overhears the granny's declaration, and he can't help but let out a little celebration. His plan is working, and now it's time for the final phase. Running back to Selena's hiding place in the forest, Dolan relays the news, and his excitement is almost palpable. Everything was coming together perfectly. Selena leaving the offerings has made the villagers a little less scared of Lamia, and it's unlikely that the elders will summon the elimination squad. With all this enthusiasm, Dolan decides that now is the time to finish their plot with a bang. As the new day begins, Captain Ballin has assembled the soldiers and breaks the news they all already know. There have been sightings of a Lamia. Ballin delivers a stirring speech to the men, inspiring them to be vigilant and reminding them of their duty to protect their village no matter the cost. Ballin's son Toro is in attendance, one of the young boys who had been training with the spear. Seeing his dad in all his armor and acting so cool, Toro feels a sense of pride watching his hairless father get things done. This gathering has drawn in most of the big hitters around town. Alongside the captain is his right hand Melita and the warrior nun Letitia, renowned for her miracles. Dolan could foresee a problem with her being there because her gospel condemned evildoers, and if they weren't careful, she could turn the village against Selena. Yet for all the troubles they might cause, all of them being there is perfect for his plan. Dolan felt confident not just in the plan, but in Selena as well. If all went well, he knew the people of the village would welcome her with open arms. From her vantage point in the woods nearby, Selena hid and nearly wet herself from nervousness. Recalling Dolan's plan, Selena was biding her time and waiting for his cue. Dolan was meant to charge headlong into a pack of monsters he knew to be nearby, and it was Selena's job to swoop in at the very last minute and rescue him in front of everyone. Risky but heroic, a surefire way to earn everyone's trust. A genius plan developed by our brilliant protagonist with no possible way for things to go wrong. Just then, a guard comes running out of the woods, howling in fear because he was being chased. Ballin wastes no time in shouting orders to his guardsmen and getting them ready to face the Lamia he assumes is coming. Dolan hasn't given the signal to his friend hiding in the bushes, and Selena wonders if another Lamia has appeared. However, what emerges from the woods is no snake. A massive ferocious beast known as an armored bear lets loose a monstrous roar as it topples trees and charges into the clearing. Ballin is shocked, and he knows that his men can't handle this threat head on. He orders the retreat, but in the confusion, Toro proves to be the most useless character in this anime, and he's knocked to the floor. Seeing little Taro as a snack because his father has already given up on him, Winnie the Pooh with rabies begins to advance on the boy. Luckily, Dolan isn't a coward like the bald guy, so he rushes in, but he realizes that he won't make it in time. Unfortunately, Dolan decides that he will have to use his dragon powers in front of everyone, but Selena comes out of nowhere to take the monster's attack. Selena takes a nasty wound in the process, and everyone is shocked to see that a Lamia risked its life to protect humans. Fighting through the pain, Selena turns her cursed eyes on the bear, and something sinister begins to happen. Using the special power of her Lamian ancestry, Selena enraptures the mind of the armored bear. She tells it to go back to the forest, and the dumb bear is helpless to resist. The rage fades from its snarling snout in a matter of moments, and it simply turns around and leaves as commanded. The villagers can hardly believe what they just witnessed. It was Evil Eyes, a powerful magic. Despite the tons of blood running down her back, Selena is more concerned for Toro and Dolan than herself. Ballin and the other guardsmen have snapped out of their daze, and the captain now loudly demands that the Lamian girl get away from Dolan and Toro. Dolan sends Toro along to his father, but Dolan remains at Selena's side defiant. He argues with the captain, saying he won't leave the girl who saved his life and the life of the bull boy. Ballin is furious because he knows that demons are dangerous. Dolan won't budge, however, determined to protect Selena from what's to come, and even Melita begins to wonder if the girl really is all that bad. The captain's grasp of the situation has left him, just like most of his hair, so he wants to ask the snake girl some questions. She answers faithfully and reveals she was indeed the one who had been leaving gifts for the village. She also admits that she had been on a journey but found it too lonely to bear, and her father was human, and all she wanted to do was learn from and befriend humans. With her eyes shut and her hands clasped, she bowed before Balin and the other villagers, pleading for them to give her a chance. She says that she saved the guys because she didn't want their families to be sad, and she declares that she would never hurt humans. Her sobbing and bleeding all over herself is not enough to convince the angry Captain Balin, so he turns to Sister Letitia for guidance. In what can only be described as the most ridiculously convenient miracle ever put on screen, Letitia's in the middle of communing with her goddess Muriel. With tears in her eyes, Letitia relays the word of the Holy Earth Mother. This Lamia was no evil creature. She was just like them, and they should live together in harmony. The priestess also recognizes that Selena has kept her eyes closed this entire time so as to not scare the villagers with her evil eye powers. Letitia asks her to open them at last, but the moment she does, Selena collapses. After she awakens, Selena is led to her new house in the village, courtesy of its grateful people. Even Balin has helped furnish the cozy place with some cushions and plushies, as a means of both an apology for doubting her and a thank you for saving his son. The cursed child from the underworld curses the whole place just by speaking, and she says that they don't really know a lot about Lamia, so as good neighbors they should get to know each other more. Dolan steps forward and offers his hand to Selena. The scene is made to look like it's a good thing that he just lied to everyone that cares about him, and the two supposed strangers pretend to meet for the first time all over again. Selena and friends then cheerfully get to know one another. Dolan thinks about what just happened, and he realizes that his good friend Muriel really did him a solid. That night, Dolan goes into his astral form that he hasn't used in eons, so he can escape his hideous human body and pay a visit to his most holy of allies. Dolan can't get away from himself fast enough, and his form takes on that of his old self, the mighty Blue Eyes Ghost Dragon. There, beyond the realm of mortals, he finds a city in the sky. Waiting for the overly muscular dragon is Muriel, the mother goddess. She looks like she just came from a celestial fashion show, and she is a longtime friend of our hero. Dolan accidentally refers to her as goddess, and Muriel teases him about how he must be taking to his new life very well if he started calling her that. Showing off a lot of heavy character development, Muriel says that she already knows why he is here. It's about the Lamia. Dolan thanks her profusely for helping his legless reptile friend, and he wonders how the goddess managed to recognize him in his new life as a boring and poorly dressed farm boy. Muriel says it was easy enough when she felt his spirit in the prayers of the villagers. She notes that his spirit is now full of life and joy, whereas his old self was tired of living. Dolan agrees, recalling the moment the hero sword pierced his heart. Like me when there's no good anime to watch, Dolan felt nothing but relief that finally his end had come. As a human, he learned a great many things about the lives of mortals, how hard their existence on the surface is, and how fleeting their time on Earth can be. It has obviously changed him, and Muriel sees that it has been for the better. She uses her wings that are attached to her rear end for some reason, and she flies up to our boy. She is glad that Dolan is happy now, and she wishes Selena to be happy as well. With a final thank you, Dolan returns to his way less muscular and cool human body, only to be suddenly jolted awake as our favorite snake girl comes barging through his front door. She's excited because today is the day Dolan promised to plant potatoes with Christina. In the bustling capital city, we see a young woman hurriedly walking the halls, clutching a letter in hand. In this place, little fairies no bigger than a hand are busy fluttering around like mosquitoes, performing all kinds of minimum wage jobs, like being doormen, sorting books, and one even delivers the letter the girl was carrying to the dean of the academy. Looking like an overworked librarian, this smartly dressed elf lady is Olivia, and she shares in the young girl's excitement when it turns out that the letter's from Christina, the pride of the academy. Instead of opening the letter like a normal person, Olivia snaps her fingers. The letter unfolds itself, and we begin to see how Christina spends her days in the village of Bern. Combat training happens on a daily basis in the village, and we see one bout between Christina and Melita as the crowd watches the cat fight from the sidelines. Onlookers are stunned because they have never seen their vice captain get pushed this hard before. Christina can tell that Melita hasn't been giving her all, so they decide to go all out. With a flurry of slashes and strikes, the two's heated practice session ends almost as soon as it began, as Christina masterfully disarms her opponent, sending Melita's sword flying. Melita's a little shocked, but she accepts defeat gracefully. Christina strangely calls her swordsmanship beautiful, and only then is Melita thrown off her game, wondering if Christina wants to clap her cheeks. Mr. Clean tells them to move so he can mop the floor, and he calls for a feast to celebrate Christina's victory. The albino is stunned by how nice everyone is being, and she can't believe how quickly they all accepted her. That night, this town turns out to be exactly what Christina's into, as the local girls point out how pretty she is. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson makes his move on her, but the other guys warn her that Captain Ballin is a party animal. Before Christina has a chance to answer, the others chase Ballin away, and he settles for 2 other victims for the night. Something unsaid is clearly troubling Selena as she watches the guys leave to go get absolutely sloshed. Later that night, Christina watches as the 3 Stooges leave for the night. Unable to sleep, probably because she's wearing literally all of her clothes to bed, Christina comes up with the perfect idea to help her relax. Intense sword practice. Swinging her blade under the moonlight, the white-haired noblewoman comes across Dolan and Selena, strolling along like a couple of insomniacs with nothing better to do. Our favorite snake person notices right away that something is wrong, so she offers to show Christina her new home. Selena goes straight for her bed, her favorite part of the house, and invites Selena to join her. The smooth Dolan encourages her to do so, but warns that while the bed might be nice for Lamias, it might not suit a human so well. Christina's undaunted and plops right down into the hay and cushions. It turns out that it's pretty comfortable after all. Selena says that the bed was Baldhead's idea, and Christina's surprised. Being quite the chatterbox, Selena explains that the cow woman is actually Ballin's wife. Everyone loves her huge jugs of milk, and all the villagers even compete over who can drink the most. As the girls get to talking, it turns out that there's a lot Christina doesn't know about the people of the village. Dolan is soon pulled into the bed as well to join in on all the juicy gossiping. The 3 of them happily chat the night away, and Dolan thinks about how all those years of dating simulator practice have finally paid off. The next day, Christina joins Selena at the tavern, and they find Jeff Bezos on steroids, boasting about how much he can drink. Turns out he wasn't talking about alcohol, but his wife's milk. Ballin proves to be into some really weird stuff, as he really enjoys watching other guys drink his wife's milk, and he tells his buddies to enjoy his wife's all-you-can-drink dairy bar. Christina then explains that she has come to taste Miss Mew's world-famous milk. Mew wants her to taste her freshest batch, so she rushes off to milk herself. Evil Jeff Bezos is impressed by how much of his wife's milk Christina's able to drink, so he challenges her to a good old-fashioned drink-off. Christina eagerly accepts his challenge, but tells him not to get upset when she drains his wife's cans empty. The 2 knock back mug after mug, and everyone watches in horror as they realize how weird this all is. Soon it becomes clear that the longtime dairy champion is having trouble keeping up with Christina, and Ballin eventually collapses in defeat. Everyone then celebrates and has a good time. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any weirder, Mio introduces her daughter Mill. Miyu's planning to launch a new product to her dairy line, and she wants the milk drinking champion to get the first taste. Mill hands over the milk, and Christina doesn't hesitate. She loves this stuff, and when she asks for seconds, Mill is positively overjoyed. As that terribly awkward scene comes to a merciful end, we return to the capital. Dean Olivia is pleased her favorite Magic Academy student is making friends, but she learns that rumors about Christina have already begun to spread. Particularly, rumors about her making friends with Alamia. Approached by the one-eyed witch Kieran, Olivia is asked about Selena. Kieran puts Olivia on edge as she worries about the dangers such a demon could pose. Olivia points out that Kieran is employed by the government general, and her job description does not include worrying about some little snake girl. Kieran, however, doesn't think that humans should live with dangerous monsters like Lamia. What's also concerning to her is the recent strings of disappearances. Olivia tries to deflect Kieran's suspicious concerns by bringing up Muriel's blessing for the Lamia to live in the village peacefully, but the annoying witch isn't letting this go. She summons the Lord of the Land, who technically rules over the village and who looks like an absolute dork. He and his absurd hat don't waste a second before deciding Kieran is right, and he says he'll send his homeboys to the village to remind everyone who runs the streets. Back in Bern, Selena and Christina make great use of their time by planting potatoes. Dolan watches them and is amused by how they both have a very unique approach to farming. Selena's technique is just wrong, and Christina uses her brute strength like a barbarian to punch holes into the dirt. Just then, the 3 are interrupted by a commotion in the village. The Dark Lord from before is here, and so is his stupid hat. He introduces himself as Gorda, while his soldiers surround Dolan and Selena. He accuses Dolan of bringing the dangerous Lamia into their sacred land, but the priestess Parima comes to their defense, reminding Gorda of the goddess Muriel's blessing. Gorda says he will not dispute God's word, but he still has to make sure that the Lamia isn't a threat, which sounds like he's actually disputing their God's word. Dolan thinks about how the royals didn't send the Lamia elimination squad, so he wonders what they're really after. The Dweeb Lord demands Selena to join him in the capital city so they can determine whether or not she's a problem. Of course, Dolan the hero insists he come along, seeing as he was the one responsible for her joining the village. The Lord determines that it would make things easier for them as well, so he allows Dolan to come along. As the two are taken away, Christina isn't happy about any of it, and she decides she must talk to the headmaster about the situation. Using her magic, Christina enchants herself and bolts off at lightning speed, running as fast as you guys run to your computers when you hear that AniCap just dropped a new video. On the wagon ride to the city, Selena puts on a brave face, but our dragon genius of a hero knows what she is thinking. He tells her not to worry and draws her close to him. It's something his mother used to do when he got worried, and it always helped. Dolan lets her know that everything's going to be okay. If at any point she feels sorry for being who she is, she can expect a stern lecturing from him that lasts all night long. Suddenly, Dean Olivia's doors fly open and her tea sprays everywhere as her favorite supercharged student crashes in. Christine is there to talk about what's happened to Selena, and she won't take no for an answer. Olivia's fairy slave served Christina some tea, and she explains that this isn't Gorda's doing. It's the witch Kieran. Kieran is a higher up, and she suspects that Selena is involved in the recent disappearances. Christina defends her, and Olivia agrees that the scaly snake girl could not be involved. Unfortunately, if Kieran decides to put the blame on her, then there's nothing anyone can do. Christina is horrified to hear this, and we get a glimpse of the evil witch. She's obviously up to something, and we see that the soldiers escorting Dolan and Selena are planning something sinister as well. Moments later in secret, Dolan and Selena speak with the guy just like a mushroom. Whatever the walking mushroom says really shocks our two heroes to their core. We next see Christina, whose glasses are missing all the important parts, discussing the matter of Selena's abduction, and Kieran, the witch who had brought her to the city under suspicion. Christina is outraged at this injustice, but the dean, despite her position, can't afford to make a move just yet, not without abusing her legal authority. As if things weren't bad enough, Olivia mentions her concerns about yet another matter. Elsewhere, Dolan and Selena are brought before Kieran, who stands in the same pose she always stands in. The witch is surprised because she didn't notice our bland hero standing right there, and she welcomes our heroes to the city of Galois. Kieran orders the little mushroom man to return and finish writing his report before inviting Dolan and Selena to join her for dinner. The spread is immaculate, and Selena's delighted by the delicious looking food. Dolan, however, isn't so easily distracted and gets straight to the point. Kieran surprises them when she says that the paperwork regarding Selena's stay in the village will be done first thing in the morning, but for now they should all enjoy the meal. The witch's courtesy goes a long way in calming Selena's fears because she thought that she was going to be killed for being a snake person. Kieran assures her that while she may have suspected Selena of manipulating the villagers with her evil eyes ability, now that they've met, she can't possibly imagine Selena doing something so wicked. She assures the duo that there's nothing to worry about, but the ominous music in the background would beg to differ. Back at the dean's office, we discover that the mushroom has arrived and his own ominous music plays in the background. Christina's alarmed at his sudden appearance, but the governor calmly strides in and informs her that he must speak with the dean at once. Returning to the dinner, Kieran asks if they're enjoying the wine, and it seems to be hitting the spot. Dolan's getting pretty buzzed, but it feels kinda strange, and the witch admires Selena's beauty. Her golden hair, her bright blue eyes, her shimmering scales, she's really quite unique. Kieran finally reveals her other eye, along with her evil intentions, as she declares that she can't wait to eat every last piece of the lamia. It turns out that Kieran used the same horse tranquilizer Diddy used to spike people's drinks, and our two heroes fall unconscious. Back at the library, the governor is hesitant to reveal something, but he decides that it's time to break the NDA that Kieran made him sign. He starts by bringing up the rash of recent disappearances plaguing the city. It seems that many young women have up and vanished without a trace. Christina has heard about it, and she also knows that none of them have been found to date. The rude and impatient girl then asks the Mushroom Man to tell her what any of this has to do with Selena. Gorda mentions that there's an ancient mage in the city that's said to be over 300 years old. Christina immediately assumes that it's the Dean, but she's angrily corrected. It turns out that this mage is human, but no human can possibly live that long without the use of forbidden magic. Gorda suspects that the rumors of this mage stealing the youth from these kidnapped women is more than just hearsay. And now there is talk that this ancient mage has their eyes set on a certain Lamia. The three quickly decide that they must head to Kieran's estate and put a stop to this madness. Back at the Freak-Off, we discover that to no one's surprise, Kieran has an underground plot dungeon beneath her home. Selena is laid out on a table, about to be dissected in the name of fine cuisine, while Kieran looms over her, mouth practically watering at the thought of the vitality she's about to cut out of our poor Lamia. Picking up a scalpel, Kieran figures she'll just peel off some of the skin first and decide what to do with the rest later. Thankfully, Dolan forces the ketamine out of his system and wakes up. Though he was just bound and tied up earlier, he easily tears apart his trappings and warns Kieran not to touch Selena. Dolan notices that Kieran has been doodling on the ground, but he is horrified to realize that her little drawings are made of blood. It seems that Kieran has been doing this for a long time now. Kieran quickly realizes that Dolan is not as human as he might appear. Dolan demands to know how many people the witch has slain, but Kieran is unapologetic as she reveals that she stopped counting after her 100th victim. She has been experimenting with life for hundreds of years, taking bits and pieces of her subjects to renew herself and retain her beauty. Her leg, her arm, even her skin, each taken from girls of all manner of races. She's been doing a pretty good job Frankensteining herself together because she doesn't look a day over 100. Kieran isn't satisfied, however, and she plans to use Selena to upgrade her beauty even more. Dolan thinks that the magic she has been using should be forbidden, but Kieran reveals that her research has been recognized by many powerful people. Dolan calls the witch an abomination, and Selena agrees. The witch is shocked because she used the best opioid she had to put them down. Dolan was one thing, but Kieran is surprised to see that now even the Lamia has shaken off her drugs. Celine can't believe the witch would be so cruel as to destroy the lives and hopes of those young women who had come here before her. But Kieran merely explains that they would have all continued their worthless lives, living in squalor and anonymity. Kieran thinks that she's done them all a favor by giving their lives a worthwhile purpose. Selena says Gorda was right about her, and Kira's tone shifts. She can't understand why the governor would be talking about her. It turns out that one of the problems with being a villain is their need to monologue. Dolan reveals that he's been hiding a small device between his cheeks. It's a transmitting device capable of sending their voices over great distances. It was how Gorda managed to learn of Kieran's evil schemes to begin with. Just then, our White Knight arrives to save the day, accompanied by the Royal SWAT team. They reveal that all this has been a sting operation from the get-go. Gorda has been working with the Dean to catch the witch in the act. When Kieran told Gorda to go back and write up the paperwork, it was to falsify reports in order to frame Selena for a crime. It was also to make it seem like she had to kill Selena because she was resisting arrest. Our heroes can't understand why someone would do something so evil, but as Kieran puts it, the blessed could never understand those who are cursed. Ever since she was a child, Kieran struggled with her appearance. The witch realized that she was a hideous gargoyle, but instead of doing some self-affirmations and buying a skincare routine, she started eliminating girls to steal their beauty. Kieran had gone mad to the point that it drove her to do twisted things in the pursuit of beauty. It didn't matter if it was taking the skin of an elf, the legs from a beast girl, or the arm of an arachne. No act was too much in pursuit of perfection. A look around the room reveals several of the animals she took parts from, all of them submerged in gallons of baby oil. 300 years of slicing and dicing have done a lot to change the witch, and she reveals just how much she has grown in all that time. Her skin begins to split and tear, her body transforming into a hideous creature before lunging for Selena. Dolan notes that she must have merged all her victims into one, a magic so sinful it could only be accomplished by someone who has made a deal with the devil. Kieran unleashes her grotesque form against the guards next. She still thinks she's beautiful, so she asks the guards if they want some feet pics. Luckily, Celine uses her evil eyes to halt the witch in her tracks, and the soldiers wisely decide that maybe it's time to leave this to the real heroes. The fight flows into full swing as the witch breaks free of Selena's gaze and she attacks. Christina counters, calling upon her blade Espalda and slicing through Kieran's sausage fingers. Mushroom wishes that he could be as beautiful as the witch one day, but Olivia tells him that this is no time to be impressed. Kieran unleashes her evil magic, but Christina manages to hold it back just long enough for Dolan to complete his own magic doodles, minus the blood. Before he lets loose his ultimate attack, Dolan asks the witch a poignant question: is she happy? Kieran's subsequent rant about her perfection and overwhelming power is enough to settle matters. Dolan gets some character development as he's no longer afraid of woke culture and he begins to shame the witch. He declares that she stole the dreams of several people and blood-stained hands like hers can never obtain beauty. Dolan then fires off a powerful offensive magic called the Celestial Javelin, and it completely annihilates the monster once and for all. The girls are amazed by our boy, but he just strikes the most bland hero pose ever. With that traumatic event behind them, Dolan and Selena return to an ordinary life in the city. Selena is trying to study with Dolan's guidance, but all the book reading hurts her tiny brain. Dolan encourages her by saying that she won't be dumb for much longer. She'll be able to read and write in this nation's language, and he can't wait to see what she comes up with. Christina joins them for tea and is impressed with Selena's progress. Olivia and Portobello next arrive, and they thank the heroes for helping them put an end to Kieran's evil. Dolan credits Olivia for giving them the antidote to Kieran's poison, because there's no telling how much baby oil Kieran would have used on them if they remained unconscious. Gorda then hands them some documents. One is a permit that allows Selena to walk, or slither, around the city as she pleases. The other is a registration form that allows her to live the peaceful life in Bern she has been dreaming of. This has been a long time coming, and Selena couldn't be happier. She also mentions how much nicer Gorda seems, and how ditching the hat makes him look way less ridiculous. The dean announces that there is someone else waiting to see them. We are introduced to Denzel, who turns out to be old Grandma Magaru's son. He's been keeping up with events in the village thanks to his mother's letters, and he's pleased to finally meet the Lamia girl he has been hearing so much about. He congratulates them on their triumph and offers to take the two on a tour of Galois. This guy wanted to show off his dumb town, but it doesn't go as he planned. The people there have never seen a Lamia before, so they are terrified of her. However, Selena's very experienced with bearing her emotions. She puts on a smile and says that she wants to buy a few souvenirs before they leave. As the day reaches a close and our heroes prepare to depart, Denzel and Olivia approach Dolan with an offer to enroll him in the Magical Academy. They think that his powers are just too great to go unnoticed. If he were to learn with them, he'd be able to expand both his mind and his soul. This would aid him in defending his home and his loved ones. Dolan says that he will think about it, but Selena is clearly upset by this. As they ride off, our boy Dolan is definitely tempted. The Mushroom Man did his best to convince Dolan, but in the end Dolan knows what he wants, and a peaceful life in the village is all he needs. Christina wonders what it is about Bern that has Dolan so captivated. Dolan responds by saying that he feels like he has unfinished business in Bern that he can't abandon. Having seen all the things the big city has to offer, Dolan asks for her opinion on the magical school, and she agrees with Denzel that the academy has much to offer someone like him. It gets Dolan thinking about what the right move is, but Selena doesn't seem too enthusiastic about her favorite reincarnated dragon leaving her so soon. Meanwhile, somewhere in the forest, an unsuspecting elf spies on an army of what seems to be monstrous ants flooding the area. Within the shimmering portal they pour out of stand four mysterious figures. The poor elf guy is gruesomely cut down by one of the giant ant monsters, and Link from the Zelda games arrives to find that his friend has no life in his body. He wasn't the only one, as in the aftermath of the attack, many other elves have been slaughtered by the demons, a sight that shocks the two scouts that come upon the scene. The lone survivor lives long enough to tell them what happened before dramatically passing away, and the scouts go to report to their tribe's leader with the grim news. Back in the basic village of Bern, we join Christina and our hero Dolan, training the little cowboy in sword combat. With their expertise, the pair help hone the skills of the kids, and Dolan warns a girl that he will punch a hole in her face if she isn't careful. Our favorite snake person is staring at Dolan in both awe and a tinge of sadness as she recalls the invitation he received in the capital to join their academy. The thought that he might one day leave her behind has her down, but she is snapped out of her melancholy when she notices that the local kids are using her tail as a playground. Dolan watches as Selena threatens to eat them alive, and he's happy to see her getting used to life in the village. With the training concluded, Christina approaches him with a request. She wants to enter the forest to progress the plot of the story. Rumors abound of vicious beasts, and Christina's eager to test her skills against them. Dolan, in his freshest target manager uniform, is hesitant about the dangers, but Christina knows exactly the right things to say. She mentions that the local pigs haven't been able to pass through the forest ever since these beasts appeared, and if they don't help, who knows how much the village will suffer if their pigs remain unhappy. They must do what's best for the village and what's best for their future breakfast. Moments later, the whole gang rocks up to the forest to escort their soon-to-be bacon friends, including 2 nameless village guards who for sure nothing bad will happen to. With all these brave warriors among them, Dolan feels better about their chances if anything goes wrong. As if they didn't just talk about dangerous monsters being everywhere in the forest, Christina and Selena enjoy the tranquility and its fresh air. Baldskin and the guards peel off from the group, but one of the pigs refuses to be turned into pork chops. It goes rogue as it makes a dash for freedom, so a guardsman chases after it. Sadly, all of the pig's hopes and dreams are crushed as it gets chucked towards the guard, claw marks gouged into its body. The heavy-set guard finds himself face to face with a snarling sharp tiger, and the guard is too scared to waddle away. He nearly ends up being tiger food, but Captain Ballin swoops in to save the day. A single strike from his mighty hammer fells the beast, and Ballin scolds Sir Snacks-a-Lot for not sticking with the group and staying on guard. However, there is something else prowling these woods worse than tigers. The screams of their comrades brings Dolan and the girls running to a terrible scene. Ballin is down and injured, while some grotesque demon looms over him, ready to end things. It attacks, but Dolan quickly dispatches it with a volt of energy. He recognizes what this monster is, a low-level demon from the demon realm known as a Zelt. They're strong and agile, which means that they're no joke. Christine is curious as to how Dolan knows so much, but the demon recovers ready for round 2. Dolan says he'll hold its attention so she can strike it down. With another corny incantation, Dolan releases a blast of energy that stuns the demon, and Christina comes in to give its head a vacation from the rest of its body. The monster is defeated, but strangely, Dolan asks that this demon's true identity be kept a secret from the others. That night, the elder, with eyebrows so heavy he can't even open his eyes, assembles the town leaders to discuss what has transpired, and everyone is concerned about Ballin. The tiger was bad enough, but now this new unknown threat has them all on edge. If it was strong enough to beat their Vin Diesel lookalike of a captain, then Bern is in real danger. The elder's side piece, Grandma Magru, arrives and reports that Ballin will be fine. She does have bad news though. Ballin will never grow his hair back. Also, whatever cut Ballin is no ordinary creature. Dolan asks her what she thinks is going on in the forest, but the old bag's response is simply that this is what happens in life on the frontier. Weird, horrible stuff happens, and it's best to let nature run its course. Dolan isn't pleased with her plot-stopping answer, and asks that he be allowed to go investigate the forest immediately. Margaru's got a bingo tournament to go to, so she just agrees, but not without making sure he has backup first. Both the knight and the Lamia volunteer, but the chief nearly breaks his spine getting up. He is horrified by the idea of Christina putting herself in so much danger, especially after he promised to guarantee her safety to Gorda and the academy. That leaves best girl Selena, whose magic will certainly be useful if trouble arises. The heroic Dolan is against it at first, but Selena wins a staring contest against him, and he is convinced of her skills. The pair travel together for a while, and Selena is delighted to be alone with our favorite dragon boy, but she's determined to prove that she can be useful to him in the village. As they reach the edge of the forest, they notice something stirring in the shadows, and Christina strangely pops out from behind a tree like a creep. Christina seems to have never lied in her entire life because she is terrible at it, as she tells Dolan that she was just looking for a Wi-Fi signal. Dolan can tell that she was just trying to come with them, and he's disappointed with her decision to go against the chief's wishes. Christina points out that she just wants to help the people of the village, who she has come to care a great deal about, and Selena agrees, feeling the exact same way. As it turns out, her help is invaluable, as the forest is more sketchy than your search history, and it's infested with monsters. The trio clear the woods, and Dolan comes to realize that it's a very human thing to want to protect those important to you, and even he is beginning to feel it. With the last of the creepy crawlies dealt with, a new threat approaches. A hulking ape-like beast growls menacingly, and Christina readies her blade, only for Selena to defeat the monster in her own way, using the power of friendship. She apologizes to the ape and offers it an apple, which seems to work. She turns to Dolan for an explanation, but is shocked when she sees that he has become the king of apes. A small picnic is laid out for everyone to enjoy, and Christina, feeling awkward, wonders how Selena is so welcoming to these monsters. Apparently, Christina is blind, as Selena must explain that she isn't afraid because she's a monster too. It's natural for humans to be distrustful of her kind, and she only wished more people were as generous and open as Christina. To help Christina get over her fear, Dolan the Monkey Whisperer sends over one of his minions. The infant makes his way over to her, and Christina manages to overcome her biases and finds that they're not so bad after all. In fact, they're kind of adorable. It turns out that these monsters were just hungry after being driven out of their feeding grounds. Dolan is convinced that something is very wrong with these woods, but first comes food. Miss Mui has gifted them a jar of her jam, and I don't even want to know what part of her went into the recipe. Regardless, it goes perfect with Dolan's homemade Lunchables. Christina marvels at the spread and takes a bite, much to the other two's fascination. Selena says it's cute just watching her eat, and Dolan agrees. There's definitely something elegant about the night, as if she were just pulled straight out of an old painting. Christina isn't interested in being the meat to their sandwich, but Selena is just desperate to know the secret to her grace, saying that learning it will definitely help her in her quest to find a husband. Dolan, smooth as butter, comes in with the "you're perfect just the way you are," which melts the Lamia in an instant. The good times are soon interrupted when something comes flying out of the woods. Bouncing off a tree, they see it's a small orb, inside of which is a tiny fairy girl. She seems hurt and mutters for them to run, but before they can get any answers, a Zelt appears ready for a fight. These are pretty terrifying monsters, but for some reason they're wearing toupees. Selena makes sure that the ape family flees to safety, while Dolan and Christina draw their weapons and engage the fight. The team is quickly surrounded as the demons pour out of the forest, nearly catching Selena, before Dolan has a chance to destroy them. The fight rages on, but Dolan is shocked when the evil Knievel of ants uses its own teammate as a ramp. The ant has taken the high ground, so Dolan is forced to use a type of magic we've never seen before. Though he's regretful to do so, Dolan transforms like the Hulk if he were just kind of angry, and one of his arms becomes massive. With such power, he easily manages to defeat the demons. Christina too has mopped up her half, but one sneaks up on her from behind. Thankfully, Selena is there, and she uses the power of her annoying voice to summon her snake. With the danger dealt with, the heroes now have a chance to speak with the fairy. She introduces herself as Maul and reveals she had been attacked by those demons out of nowhere, and she's glad for their help. Dolan knows that these Zelts are just the lowly foot soldiers of the demon world, and their appearance could only mean something far deadlier is bound to appear in their wake. Christina hopes to get some answers from the overgrown mosquito, but before she can, the group senses that they are once again surrounded. Christina goes to draw her sword, but Dolan stops her because he can tell that whatever is looking at them is just curious. Dolan places his sword on the floor as a gesture of goodwill to the mysterious beings. Christina for some reason agrees with his decision to leave themselves completely vulnerable, and soon they discover who it is. It's the woodland elves, and they're none too happy that Maul is associating with strangers in their forest. Unsurprisingly, Legolas and his buddies don't take kindly to outsiders in their forest, but when Fairy Maul tells them what they did for her, his tone changes a little. Meanwhile, Selena tries to look as intimidating as possible with her eyes closed. She uses her brilliant deduction skills and determines that this must be the elven forest. Dolan tells the girls that things will be okay because the elves aren't there to fight, but he still tells them to get behind him just in case. The leader of the elves shocks the trio when he bows his head and expresses his gratitude for helping. This guy then goes right back to reminding them that they don't belong in the forest, and he demands to know why they're there. Dolan reveals what's been going on and explains that they've been searching for answers. He even apologizes for barging into their forest unannounced, but the fact remains that the elves want them to leave because it's really dangerous. When Dolan mentions the demons, their leader Geo tenses up. The monsters have invaded his home, and the elves have been fighting for their lives ever since the demon army showed up. He ends the conversation abruptly and turns to leave, but Christina snaps and rushes over. She wants to know what he's doing about the situation. She wants to know if there's enough of them to fight this threat, and if news of the demon army has been sent to the rest of the world. She gets a little handsy in her excitement and is nearly filled full of arrows for her trouble, but Dolan and Selena pull her back to her senses. She apologizes for going overboard, but she knows that the elves must be in danger. Fighting just one of those demons was a challenge, so for the forest to be full of them, the elves must be in terrible trouble. They quickly realize that if they work together, they have a better chance of saving their forest. Hearing this, the elves realize that they're dealing with some stand-up people, and this Dolan guy can't be that bad if he's managed to get these feisty girls in his harem. Maul explains to everyone that not only are they friendly, but they managed to beat back the demons as well. Dolan wasn't sure about the little fairy at first, but now he's grateful to have her tiny but powerful personality on his side. Given what he now knows, he understands that there must indeed be a demon gate somewhere in this forest. If it's open and spewing out demons, then someone is controlling it and the Zelts. He must close it before it opens fully, because if he doesn't, even more powerful monsters will come out of it. Dolan stops that negative mentality and reminds himself that he will just destroy any powerful monsters that threaten this world, even if it means that people will find out about the dragon soul inside of him. Even if his peaceful life in the village is ruined, he vows to stop the invasion, no matter the cost. Dolan then proposes a team-up, but the elven leader is hesitant. Luckily, his much smarter sister comes in and reminds him that his people need all the help they can get. Her words penetrate Geo's thick skull, so he agrees to an alliance with our heroes. With the trio's help, they can end this demon threat once and for all. They're about to seal the deal with a firm handshake when the whole world starts shaking around them. The demon gate has been torn open, and through it steps a whole new level of bad news. 3 powerful demon knights come striding into the forest through the gate, each freakier than the last. There's no time to lose, so Dolan acts quickly. Using wind magic to enhance their speed, he and the others race towards the elf village, desperate to close the gate before all is lost. No demon invasion would be complete without a demon lolly, and this one is no different. The lolly's excited to wreak havoc in this new world, but the other two, being a lot less adorable, remind her that they're the tip of the spear. As the head of the invasion, it's their job to get things ready for their master and retrieve something important from the forest. They wonder where their 4th member is, but the big red one called George can't wait. He wants to play a game. He knows that the elves are nearby and challenges the others to see who can find them first. Jern, the big metal toaster looking one, says he's not interested in such insects, but that doesn't stop his partner from charging off into the woods on the hunt for some new playthings. Meanwhile, the lolly's practically drooling over the idea of slaughter and mayhem and can't wait to get started. The elves are fighting back the demon horde, struggling to keep their village safe against an unending assault of Zelts. Things only go from bad to worse when George arrives, and he proudly announces that this is war. This guy uses his Mega Man arm, and with a single strike he tears through the elves' defenses like they were paper. Nearby, Geo gets a tweet from the forest spirits that warn him of the new threat attacking the village. They have to hurry, but it's not going to be easy with so many lesser demons blocking their path. Back at the village, George is living his best life, absolutely reveling in the chaos. He's about to enjoy massacring one elf in particular when suddenly his spear is stopped dead in its tracks. Vines start wrapping themselves around his body, sprouting flowers as they suck his blood and sap his magic. The demon knight is brought to his knees and held there as a new player enters the fray. The big guy curses his new foe as the black rose Deodora reveals herself. Dolan and the rest of the party have nearly made it to the village, but the demons aren't making their progress easy. Dolan utters a magical incantation and summons a storm of magic arrows from the sky. Backing him up, Christina's swordsmanship and Selena's layman powers manage to cut a path through the horde and make it to the secret entrance of the elven village. Before they enter, Dolan gives the girls magic stones, the same ones he gathered at the very beginning when he first met Selena in the swamp. He tells them they can use it to unleash powerful magic, and Christina doesn't want to waste the opportunity. Wielding the stone's potent power, she calls forth a massive tornado that sends the demons flying. Selena follows that up by turning the very earth against them. Dolan is determined to remind everyone that he's the main character, so he unleashes a massive explosion spell. The last of the small fries are wiped up by the team, so Gio's really impressed, and he wonders where they've been hiding such power. If he had known they were so capable, he would have asked for their help earlier, but there's no time to waste on that now, not while the village is still in danger. Nearby, George is still getting wrecked by a plant, and the goth girl condemns the demon for his attack. The audacity to crush her flowers, tear up her forest, and kill her animals is too much of a sin to be forgiven. She declares that the demon will pay for his crimes, but George merely laughs at her. He tells the witch that the real sin is being weak. She points out that she beat him really easily, so weakness is just another crime Theodora charges him with. She prepares to finish off the helpless demon knight, but a demon lolly appears out of nowhere. She rescues her hapless companion, rotting the vines into dust before they can take his life. She introduces herself as one of the 4 knights of the demon world, named Rafflesia. Thankfully, our heroes have finally arrived at the village, but it's about to be destroyed. Meanwhile, the 2 demon knights banter, Rafflesia mocking her big dumb partner for getting himself in trouble. The big guy insists that he didn't need her help, but the truth is he would have been plant food if she hadn't shown up when she did. Theodora says that she doesn't care if there's 1 or 100 of them, they're all going down. She summons the spirits of the forest to unleash one final spell to finish off the demons, but something is wrong. The spirits aren't answering. As petals begin to rain down from the sky, Rafflesia laughs and reveals that on her way here, she noticed the flowers were blooming across the forest. Naturally, she took her time, torturing and destroying each one, like a lunatic. This flower-hating menace even makes fun of the way the forest spirits screamed and begged for Theodora to save them, while the demon tormented them. With her friends and allies torn apart, Theodora is weakened and enraged. She attacks the demons in anger, but they easily avoid the vines, as the demon lolly continues her crazy person mockery. Raising a magical shield, Rafflesia reveals that she too is a powerful spirit, just like the one she tortured, but from the demon world. With her decay magic, she has Theodora on the ropes, but the Black Rose isn't giving up. She counters with more vines, and Rafflesia is amused, routing them just like the others. She declares that she is a demon flower that feeds on life, and everything exists to be her food. The nutjob is pretty arrogant, but this causes her to miss one of Theodora's vines, and the attack strikes her, drawing blood. Raph vows to get revenge for messing up her already ugly face, but Theodora explains that she already made the decision to end all demon lives a long time ago. Finally, George is finished just sitting around and rushes in, breaking Theodora's defenses with his spear before Rafflesia uses the opportunity to get a little revenge. Theodora can feel her mana being drained, and her wounds aren't healing like they're supposed to. Things are looking bad, as Theodora regrets not being able to avenge her family. Just then, a flash of light in the sky breaks the darkness, and something comes hurtling into the fray, sending the 2 demons reeling. Dolan has arrived, and our boy is not messing around. Thanks for watching my recap, subscribe to the channel for more videos.